Hey there, it's Jody Stewart from 98.7 The Gator, the Palm Beaches, classic rock. Really excited today. We are kicking off a new segment that we're going to do regularly. It's called Gator Bites. And we're going to talk with everyone from community leaders to rock stars, artists, and everyone in between. Really excited about today's guest. And you may not know his name, but you are going to know his work. Very recognizable. He is a world-renowned drummer and a rock and roll fine artist, and his work you could see at hard rock locations everywhere. Well, he is in town this weekend to kick off his North American art tour right here in Delray Beach at the Opal Grand Resort and Spa. We're going to find out more about that, but I want to bring in the very talented John Douglas. Hi there, John.
Hey, Jody. Good to see you.
Welcome to South Florida.
Thank you.
So excited about, I guess this is your first stop on your art tour because you've been shut down due to COVID, right? So this is the first official one?
Yeah, shut down, obviously all live shows, concerts, and it made art shows virtually impossible as well. So yeah, we're rebooting it and out on the road. Feels good.
We're really excited because we know you're going to be present this weekend and folks can come by and meet you, and we'll talk about the art show and how folks could do that coming up in just a minute. But I want everyone to learn more about you because you're a drummer, you're an artist. So I'm curious, which came first for you?
I know. Yeah, what's in exactly that order. I was banging on pots and pans with my mom's wooden spoons and knitting needles way before I could even hold a crayon. So, okay. And the drumming thing was and still is the most addictive and the most primal, thing. So it's I'm a drummer first, and art has always been there with me, and was a natural. Eventually, I started painting my drums because I just wanted my stuff to look cool, and so then I started painting drums and guitars for everybody, quite by accident, but. Short answer is, yeah, drummer first, artist a close second.
All right, so I know that your latest work, masterpiece, is one of our favorites, and that's Jon Bon Jovi. And we have a picture that we're going to show. I mean, look at that.
JBJ.
JVJ, that is your latest piece, right?
No, actually, that one, I did that one while on tour with Bon Jovi in, I think, 2018.
Okay.
I painted my hotel rooms while I'm on tour, and that was one of them. And but John has the original now, and so yeah, that's. But even though he still looks great, obviously. But when I can't help when I think of Bon Jovi, that's what I think of. He was the poster child for the cool hair in the '80s. So that's what I did.
So you say when you were on tour with Bon Jovi, so you've been on tour with so many artists, and I know you've played with a lot. So like for instance, Jon Bon Jovi, when you're out on tour with John, are you playing? Are you what is your role?
Yeah, for that I work for Tico. So yeah, drum tech, and that's what I do when I'm with Bon Jovi.
We know Tico well. Tico Torres, drummer for Bon Jovi. He's a local,
and he's an artist. He's great.
So another piece that I want to talk about, which I think is very cool, is the Joe Perry piece. Because for any of our listeners that have seen Aerosmith in concert, you've seen Joe Perry's iconic, famous guitar. He calls it Billy. His wife, Billy, is on the front and the back of his guitar. So you did a portrait of this and you presented this to Joe, and then something very interesting happened, right?
Well, I painted the guitar back in 2001. So I painted that for Joe. That was my first interaction with Joe and Aerosmith. So, but I did not work for Aerosmith or certainly wasn't playing with them at the time. I painted that guitar. And then a few years later, I thought it would be cool for me to paint a picture of Joe playing that guitar, so it's, kind of Norman Rockwell kind of a thing, or in my brain anyway. If you know, the guy that painted that was the guy that painted the guitar that's in the painting. You know, that kind of thing. Just for me, I just thought it would be cool for my own. So I did that, and so I called up Joe's guy and said, "Hey, I got this painting. I'd like for Joe to sign it for me." You know, because I'm a fan, right? After all.
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, I'm up here now. Joe's making a solo album, so we're in a studio, but just ship the painting up here, and I'll get it in front of Joe, and he'll sign it." So I sent it up there, and apparently Joe walked in the studio and said, "That's my album cover," and that's what it was. So that he used that for the cover of "Have a Guitar, We'll Travel," his solo album. I forget the year.
I mean, what an honor! What an honor!
Yeah, I never saw that. It was unintended, total happenstance. You know, I just
yeah. So, you know, staying on the subject of Aerosmith for a minute, because I'll just let you know, they are my favorite band in the entire world. I've seen them dozens of times in concert. I have met them, and I have interviewed them in person, and they're great guys. Love them. You wound up playing with them on a couple of occasions, so I want to go back to their Vegas residency, and Joey Kramer took some time off. Wasn't playing. Now, did you get to play with them at all during their residency?
Oh yeah, I was with them. I played for 6 months. I played. Joey got hurt. He injured,
right,
and injured his shoulder and his neck. And when you're a drummer, you know, it's everything is connected and it matters. So I got a phone call literally at 2:00 in the afternoon on a show day. I was there, obviously in Vegas, and so
right.
So yeah, so I had to cram and learn the show, and so I played a couple of shows, and you know, Joey's injuries were it kind of snowballed, and I kept on playing. I played that happened in April, and I played all the way up to the following year, and played all the way up to the Grammys. And
right. So I want to talk about the Grammys because you know. I remember the story. Our listeners, some of them might not. There was a bit of a falling out for a little while with Joey and the band. We're not going to get into all of that. But what wound up happening is Joey did show up. Well, Aerosmith was named the Grammys Music Cares Person of the Year. And this was just last year, right before the pandemic hit, correct?
Yeah, right up. Yep.
Yep. So, but Joey did wind up showing up to accept the award with the rest of the band, but did not wind up performing with them. You stepped in. I mean, what was that moment like for you performing for the Grammys?
You know, it was, I mean, obviously an honor. I mean, look, it was an honor and a thrill and a privilege to play with them in Vegas and all the shows. And certainly the Grammys is beyond, you know, anything I ever would have even dreamt about, and I had some pretty big dreams, you know. But so I mean, I certainly would have wished that it would have been under, you know, different circumstances, you know, for the band, for Joey, and but there I was, and that was the task that I was given, and it was an honor and a privilege to share the stage with that iconic band. And you know, I was having the time of my life right up until.
What songs did you do that night?
What's that?
What songs did you do that night?
Music Cares was, I think we did Train Kept a Rollin', I think Dream On, see, it's a blur already. I think we did Big 10-inch, I think.
Yeah, I think you did, because I remember that, and I was really happy they played that.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was there, and Alice Cooper. Both of those guys sat.
Yeah.
And I think on Train Kept a Rollin', if I remember correctly. And then 2 nights later, we played the Grammys, and that was with Run DMC, and we did Living on an Edge, right into obviously Walk This Way.
Walk This Way.
You know, so even that, you know, playing with Run DMC and Aerosmith at the Grammys, you know, from a, you know, the teenage Texas boy, John Douglas, you know, up there was, again, you know, a true.
I'm sure it was a highlight of your career.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How could it not be?
Right. And you have so many, and I love, you have a way of capturing expression and emotion, I think. And we're going to show some more of your artwork. But you have something in the background with Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, especially. You were friends with them. You knew them.
Well, that's a photo of me and Edward in 1978 when they came through Houston, opening for Black Sabbath, and I'm just a fanboy. I don't know how old I was there, younger, and so I would draw pictures of my favorite. I know it's hard to tell in that photo, but I drew a picture of Edward, and met the band, and they were super gracious, and he signed the drawing for me, and life is very interesting, and so 20 years later, I started working for Van Halen, and I started working for them in 1998. So exactly 20 years later from when that photo was taken. And when I started working for him, I showed Ed that picture of he and I, and he thought that was great. He got a big kick out of that. He was a sweetheart of a guy, and obviously a major influential icon, and it's, I still can't believe he's gone.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the greatest guitar players of our time, and all of us feel that same way. Every time I play a Van Halen song on the radio, it have to do a double take and think, wow.
I know.
We lost him way too soon. You've had the privilege of, how do you choose your subjects? Are they some of your favorite artists?
Yeah, I don't always necessarily paint people that I know or that I work for, although a lot of times I do, and I've been very fortunate to see a lot of shows and work for a lot of bands, paint a lot of drums and guitars for bands, and so I do see a lot of shows, and so typically, again, I'm just a fan of classic rock, and that's what I grew up in, and so I do get a lot of commissions, so I paint obviously what the client wants. But in between that, like I say, I paint when I'm on the road. And so, yeah, I just pick performers that excite me. And I try to do exactly that. I'm all about the live show. So most of my pictures, the JBJ portrait looks a little more posed than my normal ones. But I try to get guitars and microphones and drums and, the live feel, the energy and of all that we love about live shows and
that we miss. Let's go ahead and show that one we have of Dave Grohl, because that's an action.
Yeah, that was a motion piece there. Yeah. So oddly enough, I don't paint that many drummers, which is ironic because but I don't have an answer as to why. I mean, I get obviously, lead guitar players, lead singers. That's usually the focal point of every band. Everybody wants to see Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and Steven Tyler and Joe Perry and Edward Van Halen and David Lee Roth. That's I get it. That's the norm. So I don't do many drummers, but there's Dave.
One of my favorites that you did is the Rolling Stones, because for me, I mean, tell me, because I don't know, but I want to say I've seen this somewhere. Where have I seen it?
Well, good question. I'm not sure. That was a commission piece. So they wanted this particular image. I changed up. I know in the original, like Keith had a hat on and a different headband, and I changed all that. And the Ronnie Wood was totally different. I put a different Ronnie in there. So this image that you see here doesn't really exist as it is anywhere else except for on my canvas.
Okay.
But the changes were kind of subtle. So at a glance, it may be something, but again, it was a commission piece, so I don't really know where that.
It just looks so familiar to me, and maybe it's just the fact that you have captured the expressions on their faces like nothing I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that one gets a lot of, the fun thing about the Stones, and I mean no disrespect, but of their age, they have a lot of life and character in those faces, and that's the challenge as an artist, is to depict that. It's easy to paint, a 23-year-old girl. She's all smooth and you know what I mean? So there's a lot of character in all those lines, and so it was a challenge, and I think ultimately obviously, hopefully, I captured it.
So let's get to the art show. This starts Friday, March 26th. It does run through Sunday.
Yeah.
Again, at the Opal Grand Resort and Spa in Delray Beach. And it's open to the public. It's complimentary. Is that correct?
That's correct. Come on down.
Anyone could come down. I want to give the hours if you guys have it in front of you. I know that it kicks off again on Friday, and you will be there a couple of times on Friday, a couple of times on Saturday.
Yeah, like noon to 3, and then I think like 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 on both days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And will people want to come by, they'll be able to meet you, talk with you.
Yep.
Great.
Listen, we'll talk about missing all the rock and roll that we all miss.
I know I feel like this is the closest thing we're coming to any sort of rock and roll in a very long time.
I know, which is, hopefully we're headed in the right
direction.
Right now, we crank up the music and look at some paintings of our favorite rockers and, reminisce.
I know that you have a special VIP event, private event, I should say, going on tonight, but it benefits Habitat for Humanity of Delray. So can you just tell us a little bit? I know it's private.
It's invitation only, an event, again, to benefit Habitat for Humanity, which is, certainly they do great work and an important cause to provide shelter and housing for, the less fortunate. So I'm honored to be part of that. And hopefully I get to see, some of my drumming pals and meet new people and come down tonight. But yeah, that happens tonight, and that's a private thing.
Very cool. And we mentioned earlier that this is your first stop on the tour, and I know your next one is here in Florida as well, in Tampa. So when is that, and where is that?
That's Tampa at the Michael Murphy Gallery. That starts, I think, next Thursday through Sunday, right up through Easter, April 4th. I think March 31st through April 4th in Tampa. That's Michael Murphy Fine Art Gallery there. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I know some of our local folks, travel around the state. So if anyone's going to Tampa, they could check out that event. The event this weekend, sponsored by Practice Company. And again, it is at the Opal Grand Resort and Spa in Delray Beach. I mean, you look at the flyer there, and I love Steven Tyler, and Stevie Nicks is another one of my favorites, and that's an amazing portrait of her. Has she seen that? Yeah,
actually she did. I painted that in my hotel room during the Vegas residency. And while we were there, because we were playing at the MGM Park Theater, and right across the street is the T-Mobile Arena, and Fleetwood Mac came through there. I didn't get to see the show because we played on the same nights, but I went over there. I know a bunch of people over there. So I took that painting over, and yes, Stevie saw it, loved it. She signed it for me and was very gracious. And so, yeah.
That is just so cool. Like, I look at them, and I for me, it's pieces of artwork that I could just stare and watch, because it's some of our favorite people. So we really look forward to the event this weekend. Once again, Opal Grand Resort and Spa, Delray Beach. The event is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Jon will be there on site to meet people on Saturday and Sunday to find out more. Do you have a website?
I'll be there Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, rather.
My website's just my name, jondouglas.com.
Have a successful show. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you and meeting you.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it.